Hey guys, I hope you're well on this fine Wednesday. I think it is over there, right, Mark?
Yeah,
Is it Wednesday morning? Yeah,
it went. I believe so. It's hard to
excellent,
keep track of the days.
mate. You could have told me any day, and I probably would have believed you. Gang, welcome to the Silver Lining. It's your host Andy Reid. I hope you are sincerely well on this Wednesday in April. Today, this morning, the day starts with a chat with a lad who's reached out to the show, having seen what it's about and whatnot, and asked a couple of questions, and he wants to share his story with us because he feels that it would benefit people that tune in and have a watch. To say I'm humbled is an understatement, because all of the people that we've had so far on the show, I've known to a degree or to a capacity or really well or what have you, and I know what they're about, and I know their story to a degree. With this lad here, and this has been very transparent, this is the first time we've actually conversed, and what I've felt from the messages and what have you that we've had together, I think that this is just going to be one of the most fruitful, organic conversations that you'll probably see on this show, full stop. Mark, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay, the best I can with the situation we got on our hands at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I've got through some adversity in my life before this, so yeah, I mean, it's nothing different to what I've got through before, really.
Mate, that and look, when Mark starts telling you a bit more about his story, we're hoping that, we are hoping, both Mark and I, we are hoping that it will help people to heed the warning of what could happen if they carry on down a path that they may resonate with when Mark starts telling his story, and it may prevent some things from happening that would cause real catastrophe in your life. Mark, before we crack on though, mate, and get all deep and meaningful and whatnot, give us a bit of an MO as to who you are and whereabouts you live, what do you do for work. Give us the human first piece of who Mark Grayson is.
Okay, so I'm someone that loves the outdoors. I like getting out there, seeing scenery. I like travel. Can't do any of that now, but yeah, I just have a lot of enthusiasm for life, like in general. I'm actually studying at the moment. I don't have a job, but
Cool.
I
What are
mean,
you studying?
I call that essential right now. A uni student at home.
What are you studying?
But neuro-linguistic programming. So it's
okay.
yeah, it's pretty full on. I mean,
This just
keeps me busy every day.
This just took a turn. You've fallen into one of my geek traps. This is taking a turn. What made you do that?
I mean, I've always been interested in helping people. I like rewiring the brain, so I'm always reading stuff to do with that. Yeah, I just saw that as an opportunity to get my credentials out there, and then plan my life. I mean, I've had a lot of shitty jobs in the past.
Like what?
I finally found my passion.
What did you do for work? What's on your resume?
To count on I've had too many jobs, but my last job was tree lopping.
Okay.
I did that for a while.
Is that why you got a lumberjack shirt on? Because that's what tree loppers wear, or and that
I mean,
the whole checkered shirt.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get up there and shoot up the tree, but I mean, I was there just to give an extra hand, like chuck it all in the wood chipper and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I learned a lot from all those jobs over the years, and I did a bit of travel in my time. Lived overseas for a while.
Whereabouts?
Canada.
Nice, mate. Nice. Whereabouts in Canada?
I don't know if you know the Rockies too much. There's a little small town called Banff.
Yeah.
You've heard of that? Yep.
Yeah. Massive ski town.
Yeah, full of Aussies.
Yeah. Wicked, mate. That's awesome. Well, look, the whole point about Silver Lining, guys, is to help people get through, move on, and gain from the cloud that they are in, whether it is the society cloud of Corona or whether it's a cloud that's in here. Either way, we're hoping that this show can give you a bit of an idea as to what you can do moving forward, mate. Now I know that you're studying neuro-linguistic programming. I'm gonna have to like switch through the gears a tiny bit here. I was not expecting that bad boy, that's for sure. You maybe sit up and pay attention, jeepers. Now, mate, like I said just before we came on air, like, share whatever you want to share, retain whatever you don't want to retain. From what you've sent to us briefly on messages and before we started, you've had a rather colourful past, a past that's, it's definitely not been a straight road. There's been lots of twists and turns. But talk to me, tell me, what was the main thing that made you want to change your path and start studying and really find out who you are? Was there a key thing that happened in your life that made you think, nah, I've got to make a change?
Well, yeah. Well, I've always been interested in it, but I've always had a lot of self-doubt. I felt like I needed to change one aspect in my life, and then my life would start moving forward. Long story short, last year I got myself highly intoxicated, and one thing led to another. I actually punched a tree. It's hard to talk about, but that's what happened. And that was
one way of lopping them, mate. It's one way of lopping them, right? Just punch it.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Tree lopper, and yeah. So that kind of stopped me in my tracks a little bit. Like, I said to myself after I did that, I said, oh, well, that's it. Like, alcohol's not really working for me. It's time to make a change. And yeah, that's when I really flipped the page and said, okay, that's it. And yeah, I mean, I went overseas to visit my mate in England, not long after I had that injury. And yeah, like I had a good holiday over there. I had a lot of stress that sort of like, I don't know how to explain it, but
take your time, mate.
Yeah, like I caught a plane back home and I didn't get any sleep. I had a sleepless flight. Long story short, like for 2 days I was, I was awake for 2 days and I couldn't actually how do I explain it? Like, long story short, I had a psychotic episode. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to talk about. Of course
it is, man. Like I said, you take your time, mate. You take your time. Like, at the end of the day, there's no judgment from any of this. That's why I've started it, right? That's why.
Yeah.
So you just take your time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I had a psychotic episode. And that put me in hospital for 2.5 days. Then I got shot off to a mental institution for 2.5 weeks. That was really tough. I mean, yeah, my mind I lost my mind for a little bit. And that was like, once my mind started to come back, that's when I realized that, yeah, alcohol just, it really, caused a lot of issues in my life, and that's when I said to myself, I'm never touching alcohol again. I didn't get any professional help. I've always been that way. Like, if I say I'm doing something, pretty much happens. I don't. But at the same time, I probably could have spoke about it a little bit more. I feel like that's sort of a trap that a lot of people put themselves in. Half the time they don't talk about their problems. They just soldier on and think, nah, I'll be right. And
do you think that by soldiering on and doing the very Australian guy thing of saying she'll be right, mate,
she'll be right, but yeah.
And that's what led to your ultimate sort of downfall in that episode, right?
Yeah, I had a bit of a breakdown. That's
interesting, man.
Yeah.
Look, thanks ever so much for sharing it. I mean, I mean, I've gone through, some mental health challenges myself, and it's taken, and for me, it's been a 5-year educational process, and the breaking down and the reforming of a much stronger mental framework that's allowing me to weather whatever storm is coming via society or Corona or whatever the case may be. With yourself. And like I said, man, feel free. If I'm digging any deeper than what is comfortable.
No, I'm happy to get deep into it. It takes me a little bit.
Of course it does, man. Of course, like I said to you, this takes so much effort to do, to be up front, to get out there and actually tell your story. You are sacrificing self in order for the betterment of those around you, and that's a massive thing, a massive thing to be able to do. When you really hit the wall and you went in hospital for a couple of days, there would have been a degree of, you would have started to get little glimmers maybe of you coming back or having an opportunity. At one point or another, you would have gone, how the hell have I ended myself up here? And when that when you sort of started coming to and you realized, the nature of where you were, what was your initial reaction to that?
Well, it was a bit like, I mean, I didn't really know where I was because I was still slipping in and out of I don't know how, like
this thing.
Yeah. Like I mean, I knew that something was wrong. I knew that something was changing, and I couldn't really control what it was. I didn't understand it at the time. I was like, a bit dumbfounded of what was actually happening. But I mean, it wasn't until I got to the mental institution about a week after that, my mind started to come back, and that's when I really realized, I'm like, what just happened there? Like, I can't really describe it. Like, it was on this like manic high. Like I didn't, I mean, I'm not really a religious person as such, and when I was in that episode, I was really religious. Like, I mean, I believed in a lot of things that weren't actually real at the time. So, I mean, it's a bit hard to really describe what that feeling was.
Yeah.
Because,
mate, I can't begin to truly understand what it is that you went through. I'm not, grateful for the fact that I haven't had to go through it myself. It kind of almost feels sort of like an outer body experience, right? Which is
detachment from reality.
Look, and I can empathize there. When you face your own mortality and you're considering doing stuff that may take you out of the equation, and I'm saying, being diplomatic in how I'm saying that, you're absolutely spot on. It's very it's very, very outer body stuff where you almost blank out for a period of time. Have you got family around you?
I've got a lot of support. Yes, I've got a big family. They were really good through the whole process. I mean, it was harder for them as opposed to what I was going through, because I didn't understand what I was going through. But everyone else looking in, like, it would have been, I can't describe what it would have been like, but, just from what my family tell me about that period, like, it was really hard for them to see, because I was acting out of character. I wasn't, like, the things that I was doing were really unnormal. Like, before I ended up in hospital, I was like doing the dishes at like 2 a.m, like folding clothes. Like, it was like I was on some kind of mission, but I didn't know what it was. Do
you think that I'm just trying to put a bit of context around it for everybody. Did you Since you've gone to psychologists and whatnot, and you've gone through and you've started studying NLP, which is like you said, it's all about the rewiring of the mind to improve performance and improve the ability to connect and what have you, and reach a greater potential in life. Since you've been studying that, have you looked back retrospectively and thought and sort of wondered if, because you had done lots of different jobs and you hadn't quite found what it is that you wanted to do and achieve and be and what have you, did that sort of your mind almost became a bit lost? Is that anywhere near the mark?
At the time, but I mean, I started picking up the pieces. I started reading a lot. Actually, you mentioned one of these books in one of your shows that I watch, Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah.
I picked up that book, and that really changed things for me. Like, just getting the 1%ers right each day. That's what really, that got me out of like that whole situation of not really knowing what was going on. When I went through it. So
and how did it help? So how, by reading that book, and I'm just putting it up on the screen here so that people can look it up for themselves. Like when you first read the book, how did you interpret the information in terms of how you can make changes for yourself?
Well, to put it simple, like, I mean, like even getting enough sleep each day, that was like my first goal. Like, just to get the right amount of sleep, getting up and doing at least one thing before I would, touch my phone, like all the bad habits and all that. I mean, it wasn't. I don't know how to explain it.
Did it make it? So I'm presuming, I mean, if your brain goes to a level where you end up having an episode of that nature, I would have, maybe thinking that maybe your brain sort of basically overworked itself. It's worked itself. You fried your circuits, right? So would it be very much a process of simplifying, your thought processes, your daily routines, and
what slowing down. Just slowing down.
Spot on.
Slowing down. Yeah.
Spot on. And it's a shame, right, that for a lot of us, for many of us, for humans generally, it takes something absolutely catastrophic for us to actually slow down. People have talked about Corona in a very similar light, how it's made the world slow down and pay attention. And you did that to yourself. However many months ago, was it 8 months ago or so? I think you said.
8 months, yeah.
So, your brain, your mind physically broke down because obviously it needed to do it. It needed to reboot and reset and reanalyze. But I love how you've, and obviously I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, the fact that you had that really good support network there allowed you the space to slow down, assess, and start to move forward, right?
Yeah. I'm someone that's on the go, like, 100 miles an hour. But I mean, essentially slowing down, like, I mean, it took meditation. I took that up every day of my life.
Do you meditate every day?
I would meditate, yeah. I meditate every day.
I can't sit still long enough. I can't do it. Honestly, man, it's like I've got ants in my pants. As soon as someone asks me to sit down and meditate, it's like my worst nightmare. Like my brain just gets really loud.
I mean, meditation doesn't just mean sitting down. You can go for a walk in nature. You can. I mean, even listening to music is sort of some form of meditation. So, I mean, you do what works for you. And I mean, everyone has a system to work for. So, I mean,
But you have coping mechanisms. So after what happened, you recognized that you needed to have different pieces of, you need to bring different pieces to your routine, to your playbook, and that allows you that mental space and that freedom to be 100%. Able to just slow things down just for a moment before you kick on and do whatever it is that you're doing, right?
100%, yeah.
Mate, how old are you, by the way?
27.
27. How long would you say that if you were to look back, that you had a bit of an issue with alcohol and how it made that reaction, how it made you react differently? How long ago did you really start to notice that at all, or did you ever notice it? Until right at the point where you hit the wall?
You know what? Like, I've noticed it my whole life. It's just something that I got so addicted to and attached to that I ignored the warning signs. I mean,
Right.
like I had a lot of anxiety growing up. So I mean, that was sort of my coping mechanism to just forget about anxiety and whatever else that came to mind. But I mean, I learned obviously that that's not the right way to go about things. There's healthier outlets. Like,
and when
exercising, gym, I love all that. So
when you talk about your anxiety, I mean, what this whole self-isolation thing has done is definitely raised the anxiety bar in the population, right? And one thing that I've recognized in society is that it is following the traits of depression and anxiety. It is definitely following the traits. And if we're not careful, there is going to be something of a mental health pandemic. And I think it's when I said something around that you actually first commented, because clearly for those of us that have been through similar trips and similar internal battles, what's going on right now on a macro level, it's really it's a bit of a concern how close it is to how we've experienced things, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to your anxiety and what have you, was there a feeling of loneliness because you weren't sharing? I mean, when you became anxious and you just turned to drink or whatever the case may be, when the anxiety started tripping back in, was it more of a case of you didn't know how to express yourself properly?
I mean, I've always my only outlet of expressing would be my mum. I mean, so it's not like I haven't expressed myself over the years, but I got so attached to the alcohol that was my outlet. That was like my escape.
And how did it make you feel when you had a drink? How did it make you feel?
At the time, probably good, but it was all short-lived.
And that's it, right? Like with any addiction. And look, by the way, guys, I'm not a doctor. This is not a psychology show, so full disclaimer here. This is just two lads talking to each other about mental health issues and how it can come about and what have you. We're talking with Mark Grayson, who is being so incredibly brave in coming on and talking about all this quite openly for the first time. And I feel quite privileged, by the way, Mark, when that you've said that you said this is the first time you shared it. I do feel genuinely privileged. When you go through stuff like this, the short-term fix is generally the human way to go. Your brain acts as a safety mechanism and it looks to find ways of fixing whatever the issues are as quickly as possible. That's what the brain is designed to do. It's designed to protect its carrier. And for Mark, it would be it would be alcohol or whatever the case may be, was their go-to fix in order to fix the problem that was causing the alarms to go off in his brain. For me, like when my alarms were going off, I just wanted to get away from it. I just wanted to escape. Like that was my sort of vice, was trying to get away from as many people, from everyone as much as possible, and try and find some sort of solitary confinement sort of thing. That was my sort of vice. But when we relate what we've gone through and what you've gone through to what's going on in society right now, there's a lot of people, for example, and this is where the parallels are, that are really focusing on what the government is going to provide for them next week. You know, the fact that they're looking out for this stimulus, this job keeper or job seeker allowance or whatever, and they feel that that's going to be able to fix their issues or fix their problems. Ultimately, and what we've learned, you know, and you doing the NLP course and what have you is very much a testament to this. In order to fix the issues on a permanent basis, you need to have much more long-term and permanent thinking with the changes or with the things that you, or the actions that you are taking. With your NLP stuff, how long have you been doing the NLP?
About a month.
Amazing. And how have you found it so far?
Yeah, really good. It's actually helped me, just keep on top of things mentally, especially through this pandemic. I mean, it wasn't easy at the start. I mean, I had a little anxiety, like panic attack, when it first came out. Like
why do you think that was?
Well, just that uncertainty of our future. I mean, no one's ever really been through this before, so it's how do you react? I mean, it wasn't until I went to the shops when there were a lot of people around. That's when I started getting anxious. I'm like, come on, just get away from me. Like, I need to go about my business. Like, but then, you know, to put it into perspective, I mean, I've already gone through a lot of adversity before this. So it's like, you know, if I got through that, I can get through this. Yeah. And I mean, I can't control what's happening out there right now. So just focus on what I can control, not what I can't. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
So so in terms of the stuff that you learn going through the life experience that you've had up to now, what would you say are the key things that you've learned from everything that went on last year that has helped you to really control that anxiety, to really sort of get it back under control so it allows you to keep moving forward? Like, give us a couple of things that you reckon you've learned.
Gratitude.
Okay, talk about that.
Well, just being grateful for the little things in life. I mean, you know, just having a roof over my head. That's you know, that's good enough for me. Yeah, like, sorry.
Mate, I'll be honest. I've done 2 and a bit weeks of these episodes. And you know, lots of business chat, right? Lots, you know, and look, there's been some amazing conversations, and they've all been very human first. And you know, I've been so grateful for the time that these people have spent with us so far. To hear the first words come out your mouth, the first word coming out your mouth is gratitude. That is a really interesting topic, and then defining it by saying, you know, being grateful for the simple things. One thing that I reckon Corona has certainly done is it's stripped away the stuff that we've taken for granted. You know, human connection, you know, little things like you said, like the ability as a civilization within this amazing country, within this amazing town, to be able to go get a nice coffee, for example, right? Take that so much for granted. You know, all those little things that, you know, I think are very significant in the fabric of our lives that have been stripped away, and all of a sudden we're left with the core essentials. And if you're not happy now, it's one of those things. Cool. Have you seen the film Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
Well, Ben Bannock, the lead guy who's the driver, and he asks John Candy, he asks Yul Blitzen, his coach, he said, what about the gold medals? He asked him about his gold medals and why he cheated when he was competing and what have you. And John Candy says one of the best lines that I think is so incredibly relevant for what's going on right now. And bearing in mind, right, Cool Runnings, I never thought I'd get a life lesson out of Cool Runnings, man. But naked's running down a bobsled thing. He says to Ben Bannock, he goes, look, if you're not enough with it, then you're really not going to be enough without it. And I think the significance of that comment and what you've gone through and what I've gone through is the fact that if you have got, so pre-corona, if you were to look back, guys, and look at things pre-corona and you know, look at your life and not be able to look at it with a degree of real satisfaction, then you're never going to be content now that half the stuff that wasn't really making you satisfied has been taken away. We have an opportunity right now to really, really, truly assess what provides us with value in our lives, and then look at seeing how we can really maximize those facets, those elements of our lives in order to carry forward with our lives with a greater degree of value. Like, look, unfortunately, I mean, I hope to God that you don't have to go through what Mark's gone through, or I, or anybody else. There's plenty of people that have gone through this sort of thing. But Mark, is it safe to say that when the dust settled and you know, and that and you were coming out of the mental institution, you know, you were being allowed to leave and what have you, when you were taking those first steps outside and towards the car, was that the starting point of gratitude for you?
Yeah. The moment I come out, I felt grateful. I'm like, yes, I'm going home finally. Yeah. But yeah, and it was tough being in there because I wanted to come out after my mind started coming back, but they had a process. They had to keep me in there. Some of the things that I saw in there were pretty traumatizing in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long were you in there for?
2.5 weeks.
Right, and of course you would have seen a lot of people that have, you know, got you know, pretty hectic things going on, and
a lot worse than me. That's when I learned gratitude. I'm like, well, there's people worse off than me, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the realization then when you really truly understood that you know, for all of your problems, you know, there's a lot more good stuff that you should be grateful for, that you perhaps haven't been grateful for, or if you have, you've not represented it in your actions, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. Man, this has been such a good conversation. The fact that we're sitting here and spending a good 15 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes talking about gratitude is so significant. And I'm so glad that you've given us this gift, mate, because it's a topic of conversation that we talk about, but we don't, you know, very rarely do we focus on it, especially as guys, right?
Yeah, as guys, yeah, it's a tough one.
You know, you talk about what you should be grateful for, and people say it's the car or the boat or whatever the case.
Materialistic things, yeah.
But freedom for you, and I think even though you were going through the stuff that you went through, and this is a testament to you, the stuff that you were going through, being able to process and understand that there are people that are way worse off than you, because when you get to a point of no return with some of this mental health stuff, you really don't feel like there is anyone else, right?
Yeah.
And you
do feel a bit lonely. Yeah.
And that sense of loneliness. The fact that you had the faculties to be able to see that, even though you were going through the stuff that you were going through. Now, mate, do you look back on how you reacted in the institution to how you've come out and how you've got yourself to this point? Have you given yourself a chance to look back on it with a degree of pride or a degree of, you know, accomplishment?
Yeah, I feel like I've accomplished something. I've conquered a lot. Got rid of a lot of toxic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like I've I've gotten to the end basically, and at the same time, like we're going through a pandemic, but I mean, just sitting back and relaxing and enjoying the simple things. I had to set up a gym outside. Once that got taken away from me, and that like just simple things like that, like that I enjoy every day. I get to appreciate that, and yeah.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing. Tell me, what does the world have in store for Mark moving forward? What have you got any goals that you're really looking to achieve?
Right now, I mean, I just want to get this course out of the way. It's pretty full on.
How long is it?
Well, I've got 4 weeks until the actual course starts.
Yeah.
And then it's a week. A week. They jam it all in 1 week. But yeah, I mean, if I can just, it's too hard to focus too far into the future right now. I mean, I just got to put one step forward and just keep going with that. Like, I can't focus too far ahead. It's just get my little goals right. Like, it just, stick to routine. Be responsible. Yeah,
Man,
there's
gratitude and routine. That's going to take a lot of people a lot further in their lives, their careers, their relationships, than almost anything else, man. You get those two things down pat.
yeah,
Generally speaking, there'll be a whole load of good come in your life. And I think and I'm so, other than we just met now, I do feel very proud for the fact that you have taken those steps and you are making forward movements towards where you want to be. I love how you're not putting yourself under pressure to think too far ahead. That was one of my issues. That was one of my issues. I was never allowing myself to feel satisfied in any way, shape, or form. I'd get to a checkpoint and there'd already be something that would make me feel inadequate because I'm going, well, shit, why haven't I got there?
Okay, yeah.
So that was one of the main triggers to my downfall, realistically. So for you to again have that now to go, you know what, I'm not putting enough pressure on myself. And this is what everybody can learn from this, by the way, guys. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to have everything set in stone when you know for a fact, whether it's that government changes stuff or whatever, or there's a lot of businesses now that understand that things are moving all the time, but they're now putting themselves under that pressure to evolve their business into this technological, like, whiz giant, all singing, all dancing nonsense. And it's just like, exactly. And I think society is very much getting back to self. And I think that is where people like you, Mark, absolutely going to, be in a position through your experiences to help more people that haven't really handled this or everything that's gone on that well.
I mean, just digging deep in, like, from within, like that's all you really need. You don't need to focus too far about the future. We can't control what's going to happen. So I mean, if you get the little things right each day, then you're going to build towards a larger goal. But I mean, yeah, like, it's silly to put too much pressure on yourself. I mean, that's mentally, that's not going to help.
No, it's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. And right, I've said that Corona has been a great leveler, right? All these high rollers, these really super successful people are brought back down to the same level as the likes of me and you, where we're just, we're doing our best and what have you with what we've got. But I'm telling you now, there's a hell of a lot of successful people that could absolutely pay attention to the things that you've said over the course of this last half an hour. Seriously, man, it's a testament to yourself. It's a testament to your family that you're sat in front of us and articulating your process and your journey and what you've gone through. I've got so much respect for you, man. So much respect for you. And the attitude that you're showing and the attitude that you've got moving forward is is absolutely going to see you right with whatever it is that you want to achieve, man. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Guys, there's plenty of gold to be had out of this show. Just be grateful for the very, very small things, and then allow yourself to just work on little things, because you collect it. If you add up all those little things, it turns into a massive achievement, and that is that in a rapidly changing world.
Well, I think, you know, once you drop that ego, that's the real issue. Like, you know, a lot of people have a big ego and they broadcast everything. You know, that for mental health, it's not a good thing in society. Yeah. I think if everyone dropped that side of things, you know, we don't all have to reach for the top and get that status. You know, like at the end of the day, status doesn't really mean anything if you're not a genuine human being, like there for support, compassion, all of those things, showing empathy. I mean, that's what I'm all about.
Mate, well, that's all you need to be about. I'm just writing what you just said there. Status means nothing if you're not genuine, if you're not a genuine human being. That is amazing. You need to write that down as a quote, mate, and copyright it. And
I do really enjoy writing things down. I've actually got some notes down here.
Mate, good man. Is there anything else before I let you go? Is there anything else that you want to share? Anything else that you? And look, at the end of the day, man, the silver lining door is always going to be open for the likes of yourself, my man. So, but before I let you go, is there anything that you want to? Anything else that you want to share that that you feel would be a benefit to the community?
I think if everyone like gets away from social media right now, like not use it as much. Don't flick on the news, because you know you're gonna play on your triggers for anxiety. It's not going to help you. Just have a lot of faith out there. Don't dig into fear. And yeah, just be the best version of yourself, really, and focus on all of that. That's going to make a huge difference for your life moving forward.
Yeah. Mate, no, you're absolutely on the money with your observation there. The media does play on the triggers that cause fear and anxiety. That's part of their job. I had Imi Callister on a few days ago, and she's a journalist by trade and got into media and social media and whatnot. You know, so she's not going to bite the hand that feeds her. But you know, she said, look, journalists are brought up to be able to push the buttons, push those triggers, and what have you. And from a mental health point of view, recognizing that is what it's designed to do is very, very important, right? Really important recognition point there. Mate, thank you so much. Like, seriously, man, it takes so much effort to do what you've done. So much respect for you. There's lots of people that will be Johnny Bravado out front and not have half of the bottle that you're showing by being on here today, man. So thank you, and make sure that you stay in touch. And and I would absolutely be rather grateful if you would join us again sometime. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, thank you so much. You take care, all right? You go and study some more of that NLP, and next time we chat, I've no doubt you'll start using it on me.
Even see the sunshine. Go for a walk.
All right, man. You take care. All the best. Silver Lining Gang. Just to let you know, we've got Liana Cooperman coming on a little bit later today. A HR director. She runs a freelance HR firm called HR Advisor. Been working a hell of a lot with businesses, small businesses, SMEs, in managing this absolute minefield around amount staff and pay and all that sort of stuff. So tune in at 9 o'clock tonight for Late Night TSL. But on behalf of Mark and myself, you guys take care. Have yourselves an amazing Wednesday, and we'll see you on the other side. Cheers, Mark.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers, mate.